Hi, Kim. So I know that it is 1 o'clock, but we only have 12 people currently on the meeting. So let's give
Sure.
it till 1:02 and see if we have a couple more people jump on.
Sure. No problem.
Thanks. Okay, Kim, so it is 1:02 and it looks like we've had several more people join us. So if we want to go ahead and get started in the interest of everyone's time.
Okay,
So
let me make sure that live streaming is happening. Trenton, are we good? Okay, we are good. I'm going to start the recording.
WebEx Assistant is enabled to save audio highlights.
All right, great. Thank you. And thank you all so much for being here with us today for our September meeting. So Kim's bringing up the slides here. I just want to say we have a great turnout today. And we really appreciate you all making time to be here for us and to work with us on this. So Kim, if you want to go to the next slide, please. So the first thing that we will need to do is to approve the agenda for this meeting. So in the email that Kim sent out with the meeting materials, you did have a link to the agenda as part of that. So if you have not had a chance to already pull that up, please do so. And if I could please get someone to make a motion to approve the agenda for the September 29th meeting.
This is Don Phipps. I'll make that motion.
Thank you. And if I get someone to second, please.
This is Gregory Monroe. I second.
Thank you very much. Also in that email that you received from Kim, there was a link to the meeting minutes from our August 25th meeting. So again, if you did not already take a look at those, if you could just click on that link and take a look. And once you have an opportunity to look and make sure everything is good to go, if I could please have someone make a motion to approve the minutes from the August 25th, 2021 meeting.
So moved.
Thank you. And if I could have someone second, please.
Don Phipps, second.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right, so just a quick review of our norms. We do bring these up every month, but we do want to keep focused on our work and focused on how we're working together as a team. So just a reminder that all of us have voices and all of our voices are valued, and we appreciate all the multiple inputs that we get as we move through this work so that we're able to come together to formulate the best product possible. And our guiding principles for this work. Now, again, last month we did some work in breakout groups where we were looking specifically at some of the competencies that we would expect teachers to have to move through the initial licensure levels 1 through 4. And we're going to be doing more of that work today, moving on to the 4+. But as we're doing that work, it's critically important that we're remembering that anything that we highlight, any ideas that we have, any competencies that we identify, we need to make sure that those will have an impact on students in classrooms in a positive way to help them become better learners. And also, as we move into the adult learning, to help teachers become better teachers. We also want to make sure that any of our ideas or competencies would be able to be measured in an authentic setting. So that means, would we be able to actually tell that that's demonstrated skill is affecting student outcomes in a positive way by measuring it in some form or fashion. We want to make sure any ideas that we have or any competencies that we put forward would be measurable. And just a quick reminder of where we are in our work here. So on the left, you do see the subcommittee timeline. We are the top bar there in that really dark teal color. And this just kind of shows you where we are in our moving through the process of preparing our recommendations to go to PEPSC on what we think teachers need to do for their competencies to move through those licensure levels. On the right, we do have a Venn diagram that shows what our responsibilities are, and then also where we overlap with the other 3 subcommittees. Both of these slides are available on the share drive and in the meeting materials, and so if you want to look at them larger or print them out, they are available for you to access either on that share drive or from the meeting materials emails. And then we also just want to remind you of our vision map. So as we move into our work today, we're going to be moving more toward the right side of this picture, where we're going to be looking at more of those adult leader roles, the adult learning roles, and the teacher leader roles, and what the competencies would be in order to ensure that teachers are meeting the needs not only of students in the classroom, but also the needs of their colleagues, and developing and improving the teaching profession. Okay, so we are going to be doing a little bit of work today, similar to what Dr. Sachs did with us last month. We're going to be doing some similar work. So I just want to do a refresh on what we kind of did last month, just as a reminder for anyone who was in that meeting. Also, just to kind of make sure everyone who's in the meeting today that was unable to join us last month understands the work that we're doing and how we're moving forward. And ultimately, the goal of this entire process is to develop teachers that are in classrooms that are affecting our students in a positive way. And as a practicing classroom teacher, I see this to be incredibly important, because those kids that are in our classrooms are the future, right? They are going to be our future politicians. They're going to be our future doctors, our future lawyers, our future clerical workers, our future teachers. All the things that we need in order for our society to be successful, the kids that are sitting in our classrooms today are the people who are going to be filling those jobs in the future. And we need to make sure we're preparing them for all the diverse jobs that they will take on in order to ensure that we continue with a great society. And so when we look at that, though, we need to figure out, how do we actually determine what makes a good teacher? How do we determine when a teacher is able to move from one level to the next? And in our work, remember, we are identifying just the competencies or skills. We are not developing the measurements. We're not developing the actual licensure. We are looking only at the competencies and skills. And last month, Dr. Sachs went over this diagram with us that shows kind of what we're looking at as we move through that spectrum from a level 1 teacher through the 4++ teacher. And we really have been focusing on the applies and impacts part of this. And then now we're moving into the extents. So we want to see, how do you apply your teaching practice? How do you apply your content knowledge? How does that impact the way that students are learning? How does that impact the way that your colleagues are improving in their teaching profession? And then how can we take the teachers who are really good in the classroom and extend their expertise further? And how can we use that expertise to then not only improve site-wide, but also help to improve district-wide and statewide? And so that's really what we're going to be looking at today, is moving more toward the right-hand side of the spectrum now, really looking at that impact and the extending of taking successful teachers who want to remain in the classroom and want to remain working with students and finding a way to really develop them as teacher leaders. Okay, so last month we worked on the left-hand side, really going from that license 1 kind of through the license 3. Now we're moving to the 4++. So we're looking at, once you become an expert teacher, and if you want to become that advanced teacher and the classroom excellence and the advanced teacher in the leadership role, what will it take to get teachers into those 4++ positions where they are still actively working with students in classrooms as classroom teachers, but they are also taking on additional leadership roles, working with their colleagues and working with multiple levels of students or multiple classrooms of students to really spread their expertise among more students and more of their colleagues. Okay, so when we're looking at the journey, today we're going to be looking at that level 4 teacher. Right now, as classroom teachers, once you receive the SP2 license or the professional educator's license, that's kind of the stopping point. There are some opportunities in some of the pilot districts that do have the advanced teaching roles for teachers to take on some additional teacher leadership opportunities. And there are also some administrators or teachers who are developing those programs locally at their site. But for the most part, once you reach that SP2 license as a classroom teacher, right now that's kind of the ending point for many teachers. And there's not really an opportunity for them to continue to grow in their teaching profession and to be able to share their expertise with more students and with their colleagues. So as we begin our work today, what we're really looking at is how do we move teachers beyond the classroom teacher where they're working with only their assigned students to becoming a teacher who is taking opportunities to provide professional development, to work with beginning teachers, to work with their colleagues, to serve as a mentor. There's many different ways where we could have these teacher leaders really begin to grow not only in their own personal professional development, but also to help their colleagues grow. And in doing so, that is going to ensure that more students in our classrooms have effective practitioners in front of them every day, because we're going to be working with other teachers to really build the teaching profession and to really make a robust opportunities for kids in our classrooms. Okay, so to get to that level 4, you do know there's going to be multiple things. And once we get to the level 4 teacher, teachers would be able to stay as a level 4 teacher if they wanted to. There would be no expectation that once you reach a level 4 teacher that you would need to move on to be a 4+ or one of the plus teachers. So we're not saying that you would have to continue moving on the licensure path once you reach the level 4 teacher. But for someone like me, I love being a classroom teacher. I don't want to be an administrator. I love being in the classroom, but I would also love to have more opportunities that would be in authentic settings and that would be something that's part of my actual job, to work with my colleagues more frequently, or to have an opportunity to go into more classrooms and to share my expertise with the teachers in that classroom, or to work with the students in that classroom. And that's really the beauty of this model, is that for teachers who are looking for additional leadership opportunities within their school or within their district or at the state level, this gives those teachers the opportunity to remain classroom teachers while also stepping forward to become teacher leaders. And so we're really excited that this will be part of this new licensure system, where we're really giving teachers the opportunity to really demonstrate their expertise and to share that expertise with their colleagues and with more students at their schools. Okay, so when we're looking at the license 1, 2, and 3, we've already been over those pretty frequently. Today, as we move into that 4 and 4++, what we're really going to be looking at is, can you demonstrate the effectiveness? Can you maintain that effectiveness? And can you demonstrate competency in leading adults? So really a lot of our focus today, you will see as we move into our breakout room work, is that we're moving from really focusing on kids, and we're still going to be focusing on kids, but now you're also going to see a lot of verbiage that's referencing colleagues, referencing other teachers, and referencing doing some additional leadership work at the site and district levels. Okay, so again, we're moving that right-hand side here. So we're looking at highly effective teaching and then also that competency of the adult leadership. All right, so again, we're looking at the demonstrating that adult competency. That's going to be a big part of today's work. So as you go into your breakout sessions, we really do want you to center a lot of your discussion around what would it take for a classroom teacher to not be an administrator, but still be a leader at their school. So that's it's kind of shifting the way that we many times think of teachers. And it's shifting beyond just someone being a department head or being a mentor teacher for a beginning teacher or being a cooperating teacher for a pre-service teacher. We're really looking for opportunities here for classroom teachers to become leaders of their colleagues and to help their colleagues grow in their teaching profession. All right, so last month, most of our work was centered around the North Carolina teaching standards. This month, we are also going to add in some other things with the leadership specialist standards. Those are also North Carolina product. And we also looked at the teacher leadership competencies, and that's a national product. There were links to these products in the email that Kim sent out. We'll also have links to those on the share drive if you want to take a look at them. If you wanted to get a little bit more information about these. I realize that these are not the only products out there that would give us some really good guidance on the competencies that would be required to have teacher leadership. And so that's kind of where we're looking for you as well. So if you know another product that would be a great opportunity, if you've seen something that's happened in another state or in a district where it's been very successful in developing teacher leaders, if you have ideas that are outside of anything else that you've read or you've seen, that please put those into the spreadsheet as you're working on that with your group so that we're able to reference those materials and continue building out this list of the competencies that would be required for our 4++ teachers. All right, so again, this month you're going to be doing a very similar product to what you worked on last month, where you're going to have the spreadsheet. What I did is for standards, I kept the standards 1 through 5, and then I kind of pieced in from the leadership standards and from the leadership specialist standards. So the national leadership competencies and the leadership standards. I kind of pieced in the adult learning pieces and some of the working with your colleagues pieces where they fit in with the existing teacher standards. So it's still that standards 1 through 5. Groups 1 and 2 are still going to be working on what we call the application, or like actually taking that piece of how would I actually make this work and apply it. Groups 3 and 4 will be working on the impact. What we've done this time though is for your tabs, if you are in group 1, you're going to start with standard 1 and move from left to right to standard 5. But if you're in group 2, your tab on the far left is going to be standard 5. So you're going to go from 5 down to 1. So that way we're hoping we get a little bit better coverage of all of the different standards. Groups 3 and 4, same thing. Group 3, you're going to start with standard 1, move left to right over to 5. And group 4, your far left tab is going to be standard 5. And so you'll move from 5 to 1. If you have any questions about that, just let us know. Hopefully once you get into your groups, it'll make sense, but you're essentially just going to start with your first tab on the left and then just move over toward the right as you work through in your breakout groups.
Maureen, can I offer a little bit of opportunity to think about how to reflect on this?
Yes, please do.
So what Maureen has put together is the North Carolina Professional Teaching Standards, standards 1 through 5 that apply to teachers. But if you think about what we've done today, we're changing gears from what that teacher needs to do to what someone who leads other teachers to improve their practice needs to do. So as you look at the spreadsheet that you have, where last time we did this, you looked at the behavior that was listed as the competency or the skill to support that thing in the standards, you're actually changing the question today. The question is, what would someone who leads other teachers need to show they can do in order to help the teacher do that thing above it that is required in the professional teaching standards. So you're not trying to get the teacher leader to do what's in the element above it. You're asking the question, what would the teacher leader need to do to help other teachers accomplish the element above it? That's the relationship of what we're coming up with today and the teacher standards that they're framed beneath. I think, Maureen, that might help people wrap their head around it. If it confuses you, then pretend I never said anything.
Yes. Well, and one other thing too, just to keep in mind, is that I pulled out pieces from the National Teacher Leadership Competencies, and I pulled out pieces from the North Carolina Teacher Leadership Specialist standards, and I embedded those with the teaching standards where they aligned. So you will see that what you're going to be reading is not going to be the exact like standard 1A. 1A would have some additional things in there that have been pulled from the national competencies and that have been pulled from the North Carolina Leadership Specialist. So they're going to look a little bit different than they looked last month. And then another thing you'll notice is in the underneath for some of the stuff where it's in the green bar where you're going to put in some of the behaviors. For many of those, as I started working through some ideas to kind of get you some ideas to get rolling, you'll notice it says the teacher models or the teacher assists or the teacher helps colleagues. So that verbiage is kind of what would it be that the teacher leader would need to do, as Dr. Sock said, what would the teacher leader need to do in order to help teachers meet these teaching standards, but also based on some of the competencies that have already been developed for leadership, what would the teacher leader need to do to demonstrate that they are truly fulfilling that leadership position? Does anybody have any questions about what we're going to be working on? Or does that make sense for everyone? Okay, so what we're going to be doing is, again, breaking into breakout groups. So we're going to do just mixed groups. So you're going to get randomly assigned to a group. For group 1, you're going to do application starting with standard 1. Group 2, application starting with standard 5. Group 3, impact starting with standard 1. And group 4, impact starting with standard 5. So and it's already set up that way in your table. So when you open that up from the share drive, just start with the tab that's on the furthest to the left, and you'll be ready to go in that correct order.
Maureen, I'm ready for breakout groups.
Okay, great. So if you just want to go ahead and put us in, that'd be fantastic.
Great. And I think Tom asked for the share drive link again. That's something that I'll have to go and get for everyone. Okay. Okay, if anyone else needs the share link, then please let me know through email, or if you have my number, you can text me, because I need to do it individually. And I will break us out into groups.